Take the exit. Turn right into the drive-thru.
Nope, I'm making dinner tonight.
You don't have time. Josh has practice.
Oh, that's right. I'll just get a salad.
And fries?
No, just the salad.
But salad cancels fries.
Salad only.
Fries.
Salad.
Fries.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on the road to successful weight loss.
Hey, can I get the...
Fries.
Salad. Sorry.
Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Julie Ward. Julie's case and her family's journey to get her justice is tragic and inspiring. Many people have been charged with Julie's murder, but none have been convicted. Her dad, John, spent 35 years and over £2 million fighting for justice. In the end, he proved that both the Kenyan and British governments took action to cover up Julie's murder. This is the case of Julie Ward. Julie Ann Ward was born on April 20th, 1960 in Suffolk, England. She was the oldest child of John and Jan Ward. After Julie came two sons, Tim and Bob. John Ward was a self-made millionaire. After serving in the Royal Air Force in the early 1950s, he saw the world's fascination with coffee shops and decided to open one himself. He then expanded to a second location, and eventually by the mid-1960s he began purchasing hotels that he then sold. John made a good amount of money from the sale and decided to retire to California, at least for a while. Like many entrepreneurs, retirement bored him, so he took his family back to Britain and founded the Butterfly Hotel Group. Despite John's impressive success, his daughter Julie worked very hard to make her own path. Julie was gorgeous, extremely intelligent, and kind. She worked upwards of 15 hours a day as a publishing assistant in Suffolk. But that wasn't truly her passion. What she really loved were animals and photography. It seems that a lot of this passion came from her mom Jan owning a lot of huskies and just caring for stray animals. In 1985, Julie took her first trip to Africa and fell in love. In 1988, at age 28, she embarked on her third trip there. And this was a long trip. Julie planned on spending 7 months there. She really just wanted ample time to capture the annual wildebeest migration at the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. This is an event that people still travel from all around the world to go see. It's also where visitors can visit what they call the Big Five: the African elephant, African lion, Cape buffalo, leopard, and rhinoceros, in addition to a lot of other animals, especially back in 1988. It was the perfect place for Julie's love of photography and animals to come together. So on February 7th, 1988, Julie flew from England to Kenya. While of course this is long before the days of constant communication with cell phones, Julie did keep in touch with people back home through writing letters and sending back her undeveloped rolls of film as she traveled through Africa. Through her travels, she also made some friends, most notably Paul and Natasha Weld Dixon, an elderly couple she met in Nairobi. They owned a property there and basically let Julie camp on their site because they liked her and enjoyed her company. So for months, Julie's just kind of traveling, taking a ton of pictures, and staying at a variety of properties and campgrounds across Africa. By early September, Julie's trip was nearly over, and her flight back to England was just about a week away. During this portion of her trip, she was traveling with an Australian friend, Dr. Glenn Burns. Together on September 2nd, they drove to the Mara in Julie's Jeep. She purchased this in Nairobi for this trip. But this was it, the moment that Julie had been waiting for. They were finally going to see the wildebeest migration. On their way, they stopped and camped at the Sand River campground and continued their journey the next morning. But after stopping for lunch at the Serena Lodge, the Jeep broke down. Luckily, a tourist vehicle finds them and tows them back to the lodge. But this is where they realize that they had a bad fuel pump. Unfortunately, Dr. Burns was due at a meeting at the National Museums of Kenya in 3 days. So he asked their city host, Mr. Weld Dixon, to send a new pump to Julie at the lodge. On September 5th, the Jeep was repaired by a local mechanic, and Julie left for Nairobi on the 6th, determined to see the migration with or without Dr. Burns. But before she could head on to Nairobi, she had to kind of backtrack to pick up the tents that they left behind at the Sand River campsite. She was reportedly seen here around 2 p.m. doing exactly that. She also paid a fee for storing the tents for the past few days. It's reported that she was alone. This is the last known sighting of Julie Ward. From here, it's believed that she headed back towards Nairobi to see the wildebeest migration as planned. But days pass, and the Weld Dixons become increasingly concerned for Julie. Her return ticket to England was for September 10th, but she told the Weld Dixons that she planned to visit them before leaving. Now, this couple had been in the area for over 25 years, so I imagine that they are well versed in the dangers of Julie's trip. And they really waste no time trying to find her. They call police stations and hospitals, and then the game reserve. They check their log of visitors entering and leaving the reserve and tell them that Julie left on the night of September 6th. But then Julie misses her flight on the 10th, and they know that they have to report her missing to police. After doing that, their next call is to John Ward. In reporting by Dan Warburton for The Mirror, John Ward says, quote, "It's a funny feeling. I actually knew something was wrong. I had an overwhelming feeling I had to do something, so I flew out that day. I'd never been to Africa, never been to the bush. I realized how wild and rough it was. All I could think was that she was down there by herself." End quote.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. After discovering that his 28-year-old daughter Julie has gone missing, John Ward is on a plane to Kenya within hours. And he wastes no time or expense to find her. At this point, Julie's already been missing for 6 days. They have no time to spare. With the help of the Weld Dixons and other friends Julie made on her trip, John organizes searches. He also charters 5 aircrafts to search for Julie's Jeep. And his plan worked. On September 13th, Julie's Jeep was found off the path and in a gully in the Mara. The doors were locked, but of course, John puts his hands up to the glass and looks through the windows, and in the back seat he sees this bundle of cloth. His first thought is that maybe Julie's under there, so they break the glass to get inside the Jeep, but Julie was not inside. Instead, they find 2 bottles of beer, binoculars, and a map. And on the top of the Jeep, they see the letters SOS written in the dirt. While Julie's Jeep was found in this unexpected location, they thought that maybe it had broken down and Julie left this message before continuing on foot. John Ward had hope. But that same day, Chief Game Warden Simon Ole McCullough investigates an extinguished campfire about 10 kilometers away. And in it, he finds charred human remains. When John Ward gets to the scene, he also finds film, and what would later be confirmed to be Julie's lower jawbone and left leg. Her skull would be found about a month later in a nearby bush. Dr. Adele Shaker, a pathologist from the Kenyan Police Department, performed Julie's autopsy. He concluded that Julie's body had been cut with some type of blade, and her leg had been burned after it was removed from her body. Everything was pointing to homicide. But despite this looking like a rather obvious case of foul play, Kenyan officials refused to conduct a murder inquiry. So John Ward takes up the investigation himself. He says that they pushed for Julie's remains to be cremated, but he instead took them back to England to have them examined by 3 separate pathologists. And each one of them said the same thing. They didn't know exactly how Julie died, but it was clear that her leg had been removed via some type of blade, then soaked in gasoline and set on fire. Now, at first, Kenyan officials tried to make John Ward accept the fact that his daughter was attacked by animals. But when John came back with these findings that clearly animals didn't soak Julie's body in gas, they said maybe Julie had been struck by lightning or died by suicide. John ends up placing ads in 2 of Kenya's major newspapers, advertising a reward of 10 million Kenyan shillings, or about 77,000 pounds. He was specifically looking for an arrest or a conviction. The information does start to come in, and about a year after Julie's found, the first murder inquest into her death begins. But it's weird from the start. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office urges John to restrict witnesses to only the Kenyan police, basically discouraging him from bringing in his experts from England. John denies this request, and in the end, it was determined that Julie had been murdered. Chief Magistrate Joseph Mango said, quote, "There is ample and substantial evidence that Julie Ward died of foul play by a person or persons unknown. I think the animals are innocent. If they are guilty at all, it is in eating what they found." End quote. Despite this ruling, though, no arrests were made, and it was decided that no further investigation was needed. But do we think this stopped John Ward? Of course not. John dedicates his entire life to this. He even sells off a part of his stake in the Butterfly Hotel Group to pay for the investigation. He was not going to let this go. He dug deeper and deeper, and eventually by early 1990, he was able to convince UK Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd to initiate an investigation by Scotland Yard. And 2 detectives were flown to Kenya. But Kenyan officials stick to their story. This was not a homicide. They even go as far as to call Julie a loose girl who might have been sad enough to cut herself up. As in dismember herself. But by January 1992, these detectives find enough evidence to charge 2 rangers from the reserve with Julie's murder, Peter Capan and John Maggiore. Julie's hair and a battery from her Olympus camera were found at the game post they'd been working at that day. The prosecution argued that the men abducted Julie after finding her Jeep, then imprisoned her at the Macquarie game post for 6 days, sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and then dismembered and burnt her body. The investigation also uncovered that Julie's signature had been forged at the Sand River campground where she was supposedly last seen. After being presented with evidence from a handwriting expert, employee of the campground, David Nikoko, admitted to forging her signature. But he said it wasn't to cover up any type of murder. It was just to avoid getting in trouble because he forgot to have her sign. In the end, by June, the 2 rangers were acquitted, citing lack of evidence. But there is a win in this. The judge actually sides with John Ward's theory that Julie's murder has been covered up to protect Kenya's tourism industry. Again, John is not giving up. He keeps gathering evidence and pushing for further investigation. And John really does a lot of this kind of in secret. He kept his itinerary secret. And he wouldn't even order his own food. He stuck strictly to buffet options. And according to John, he felt this was necessary, because one man who threatened to tell the truth about Julie's death had apparently died in a mysterious accident. So John is chugging away trying to get new information. By 1997, now nearly a decade after Julie's death, a new team of Kenyan police officers re-examine Julie's case. And by July 1998, another man is charged with her murder. Gamekeeper Simone Ole Makala. He's basically the big boss of the reserve, and the man who originally found Julie's remains. Or at least he used to be the big boss. He was apparently suspended not long after Julie's remains were found. But according to John Ward, the original story was that Makala was on leave, before they finally admitted that he had been suspended and was not expected to return. So let's dig into Makala finding Julie's remains. As the boss, the day that Julie went missing, Makala was informed of her disappearance. But instead of participating in or just overseeing the search for her, he instead went to the Serena Lodge. That's where Julie stopped for lunch before the Jeep broke down. He got to Julie's car around 3 p.m. and promptly had the items inside, the binoculars, beers, and map, along with some other personal items, moved for safekeeping. However, the detectives caught that in his testimony in the 1992 trial, he said that he peeked into Julie's Jeep and saw these items 3 hours after the time recorded that he had removed them for safekeeping. This discrepancy was, of course, a major red flag for investigators. So they keep digging. And after reviewing the logs, it was discovered that from the time he found Julie's vehicle to the time of him finding her remains was the exact amount of time it would take to drive from one location to the other. Basically, McCullough went directly to Julie's remains while supposedly not knowing they were there. Now, McCullough counters this. He says he saw buzzards circling in the sky, so Julie was easy to find. However, experts have argued that from that distance, upwards of 10 kilometers or about 6 miles away, you couldn't see an elephant, let alone vultures. Investigators also took note that not only was Julie's Jeep found hidden and off the path like I mentioned, her remains were found next to a rather distinct tree. So it seems like either McCullough knew where she was, or he was told where she was using the tree as a landmark. But in the end, McCullough is also acquitted of Julie's murder. This did not stop the rumors from swirling, and a local woman hands John Ward a note. It says Jonathan Moy, son of then President of Kenya Daniel Moy, killed Julie.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man, an 8-episode series, now streaming on Disney+.
A superhero remake, not exactly what we'd expect from an Oscar-winning director.
Action! Simon Williams, audition for Wonder Man.
I'm gonna need you to sign this, assuming you don't have superpowers.
I'll never work again if anyone found out.
My lips are sealed.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man. All 8 episodes now streaming, only on Disney+.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
John Ward's investigation into his daughter Julie's murder is growing increasingly dangerous by the day. Like I said, this man is looking over his shoulder. He knows that they don't want whatever happened to Julie to come to light. But John keeps digging. He says he finds this film crew who was around the reserve that day. They offered their assistance in searching for Julie. But McCullough declined, telling them to mind their business. This crew was also apparently well aware of the rumors that Jonathan Moy had killed Julie. They say that after filming for about 6 weeks, they went to McCullough's office for a business matter, and they found him sitting with his head in his hands, saying he'd been called in for a meeting with President Moy. In John's investigation, he also revealed that Jonathan Moy owned a series of farms near the Serena Lodge. As you might recall, this is where Game Warden McCullough went before joining the search for Julie. At this point, it really just becomes this kind of open secret that Jonathan Moy was at least involved in Julie's murder. By November 2001, another investigation is launched into Julie's death. This time it's overseen by the Police Complaints Authority. This would eventually lead to another inquest in 2004. And this is where a lot of new information about the case comes out. And it really confirms much of what John Ward found or suspected. First, the Kenyan Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs admits that there had been a deliberate obstruction of John Ward's attempts to solve Julie's murder. He then calls Julie's case a part of Kenya's, quote, dark and ugly past, end quote. A former MI6 agent comes forward. Basically, that's the Military Intelligence Section 6, and it's the Foreign Intelligence Service of the UK. So this agent, only known as Mr. A, testifies. He says that he and his Kenyan police contact, David Rowe, did in fact conceal their involvement in Julie's case. But he denies covering up her murder. While Mr. A denied meeting with Mr. Rowe 9 days after Julie's murder, he was presented with documentation of this meeting in London. It was 4 days after this meeting that John Ward was told Julie may have been struck by lightning and eaten by hyenas. Furthermore, Mr. Rowe of the Kenyan police denied knowing about Julie's murder when meeting with Mr. A. And again, documentation proved otherwise. Then Mr. Rowe finally admits that he did meet with Mr. A after Julie's murder. But he maintains that it wasn't him who briefed Mr. A on Julie's case. And once again, he's faced with documentation in which Mr. A wrote that Mr. Rowe, quote, briefed me about the Ward murder case, end quote. To which Mr. Rowe basically says, whoops, I must have gotten my dates wrong. In addition to all of this just being extremely odd and pointing to a cover-up, Dr. Adele Shaker, the original Kenyan pathologist that determined that Julie's death was a homicide, testified that he was pressured into doctoring that report to say otherwise. His initial findings were that Julie's limbs had been clearly cut with some type of sharp blade, human intervention. But the words clean cut were changed to torn and cracked, and sharp injuries became blunt injuries. Dr. Shaker says that his boss, Dr. Jason Kaviti, came to his office and began to underline the report, making these exact changes. Dr. Shaker says that after this, he fled Kenya out of fear for his life, and that he was also told that basically it was Julie's fate against the fate of an entire nation, alluding to Jonathan Moy's involvement. A woman named Jenny Jenkins also came forward. She worked for the British High Commission in Nairobi. She says that after expressing support for John Ward's campaign that clearly something was wrong here, she was told to, quote, back off from John Ward, end quote. After a week of testimony, it was declared that Julie had been unlawfully killed, and John Ward was praised by the court for his determination in the face of, quote, official obstruction and ludicrous misinformation, end quote. Basically, this inquest allowed for further investigation, and the information just kept coming. Not long after the inquest, a former Kenyan intelligence officer says that he saw Julie's murder. According to reporting by Andrew Alderson for The Telegraph, this man said, quote, all 3 men repeatedly raped the British tourist in turn as she pleaded for mercy, end quote. He says Julie was told to drive her Jeep from the Sand River camp, and it was strategically placed in the gully. She was then made to write SOS on the top of her Jeep. From there, she was blindfolded and dragged to where she was killed. While they initially tried to make her death appear to be the result of an animal attack, they realized that they may have left too much evidence behind, specifically noting semen. So that's when they decided to burn her remains. Unfortunately, this anonymous tipster refused to say who killed Julie, but he did add, quote, our government used to do unimaginable things. Looking back today, I have nightmares. I terrorized my own people. People opposed to the government. It is time to take stock, end quote. Now, I think it's important to mention that John Ward isn't just believing everything he's being told. He's skeptical of this finding, as he was with all rumors until otherwise proven by hard evidence. And I will say there are a lot of rumors in this case. By 2008, John Ward had visited Kenya over 100 times and spent over £2 million of his own money in search for the truth. That same year, the Sunday Telegraph also released a bombshell report about an independent police report that was secretly completed in 2004. This report found that Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the British High Commission in Kenya both not only made mistakes, but were active in trying to cover up the investigation into Julie's murder. Both sides were covering up Julie's murder. But that didn't stop John. That year, he went back to Kenya to investigate 2 tips that ended up being hoaxes. But he said that his new focus was DNA, He'd actually kept evidence in his own freezer for decades, hoping technology may advance. From here, this pattern of investigations opening and closing just continues. There's another investigation in 2009 where possible DNA from Julie's attackers were found, but nothing comes of it. In 2011, detectives from the Metropolitan Police went to Kenya. They interviewed witnesses, took DNA and fingerprints, but again, nothing comes of it. By 2018, John Ward asks directly for Jonathan Moy's DNA. He wants to compare it to evidence found at the scene. But his request is denied. Then, in 2019, Jonathan Moy died from cancer. But again, our hero John Ward does not give up. He knows that with Moy's death would come an influx of people who would feel more comfortable coming forward. And that's exactly what happens. John says that he's approached by many new people. One man physically trembling to present new evidence confirming that Jonathan Moy was in the park at the time of Julie's death. But Scotland Yard said that they were shelving their inquiry into the matter. At this point, John Ward says that he knows Jonathan Moy killed Julie. He writes articles about it, and says that he owes it to his daughter to get justice for her. Now, by this time, John is in his 80s, and he tells the media that he's now in a race against time to get justice for Julie before he dies. In 2023, Julie's mother, Jan Ward, passed away from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. 2 weeks later, John was gone too after losing his battle with prostate cancer. They were married for 65 years, and for 35 of them, they fought for Julie. Their sons, Bob and Tim, organized a joint funeral for their parents near their home in Suffolk. In between John and Jan, they buried Julie's ashes, saying their mom always wanted to keep her close. An obituary for John was published in the Telegraph, and most of it was dedicated to telling Julie's story. His death made headlines across the world, and his sons pledged to continue their father's fight for justice for Julie. They actually said that their dad prepped them for this, saying he felt like the Kenyan authorities were just waiting for him to die, expecting the inquiries to stop with him. Bob says that as his father took his final breath, he discussed exposing the truth of what happened to Julie. But he did make peace with at least some of what happened. Bob told the BBC, quote, "Dad was definitely at ease with what happened, because we know what happened. It's why it happened and why it was hidden that is the problem." End quote. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Julie's case. It's complicated, with 35 years of inquiries, rumors, and random writings to decipher. But that's just how these things go sometimes. Especially when it's been proven that the authorities actively participated in covering up a murder. It's messy, because law enforcement never gave Julie a real chance to get justice until John Ward made them. So again, please share Julie's case, continue her legacy, and John's work. While his sons also understood that this took their dad away from them, ultimately they called him a hero. Now, I didn't mention Julie's mom Jan much in this episode, but she and Julie were incredibly close. And while she did go on many trips with John to Kenya and helped with the investigation, she found herself on just a different path than John. She, of course, wanted justice for Julie, but she also just wanted to connect with her daughter. She knew Kenya was a place that Julie loved, so she loved it too, despite the horrors that happened there. In 1996, a UK organization that cares for injured animals called Born Free rescued a lion and lioness from their lives in a rooftop cage. Jan Ward was so moved by this story that she got in touch with the organization and raised enough money for them to build a lion sanctuary in Africa in Julie's honor. In 1998, the organization held an event in London and displayed Julie's letters and pictures from her last trip. And 3 years later, the Julie Ward Rescue and Education Center was opened. It houses big cats, and is frequented by local kids to learn about wildlife and the negative effects of captivity. So my second call to action is to ask you to check out, share, and if you can, donate to Born Free at bornfree.org.uk. Jonathan Moy is gone now, but I imagine that there are still people out there with knowledge that can bring Julie's brothers answers. So again, please share. The hope is to continue Julie's legacy and help make John Ward's dying wish of this no longer being hidden a reality. As a reminder, 28-year-old Julie Ward was killed in Kenya in September 1988. Several official inquests have determined that both Kenyan and British officials engaged in covering up her murder. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Metropolitan Police. You can do that online at www.met.police.uk/RO/report. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice Media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. I need our emotional support puppies. They are in the room. This case shattered my heart. Shattered my heart. We should all be so lucky to have a John Ward if something terrible happens to us. I'm going to try to keep it together. I could barely keep it together at the end. It's just, oh my gosh. Just what an incredible family. I also really love that her mom, Jan, led with love. She, didn't hate Kenya after everything that happened. She didn't hate Africa, the whole continent, after everything happened. She just wanted to give back in some way. Like, while, of course, Julie was lost due to a horrible person and the corruption there, it doesn't make all of Kenya terrible. And just honoring Julie's love like that, it touched me. I know I'm a softie, I know everything touches me, but I just thought that that was really sweet. Her ability to, I can't say that she forgave, but to show some love for the community, I guess. The other thing I wanted to touch on here, I had to pause and take a break. The other thing I wanted to touch on was using John as a source. Now, believe it or not, when I do these episodes, when I research cases, I won't just take what a family says as fact. I do feel a duty to try to verify it, get multiple sources. But in this case, with John and using him as a source, it felt just as valid as using either of the governments as a source that were proven to lie and cover this up. So, I used John as a source in here, and I did indicate that to you. John believes, John says, John found. But I mean, what do you do in a case like this? The Kenyan government is lying and covering things up. The government in the UK is doing the same thing. So who do we believe? I don't know. I would love if you guys told me. Find me on social media, email me, whatever way you want to communicate. I want to know what you think. In a case like this, what do you do? Do you just not cover it? I mean, to be fair, Julie's case has not gotten a lot of coverage, which again it always like shocks me because this case, like I said, shattered me. It cut right to my heart, right to my soul, and I just wanted to help. But I wonder if maybe that's why her case hasn't gotten as much coverage. I don't know. Let me know. Again, please take a moment to share. If John Ward's story didn't touch you, I don't know what would. What's going on with me feels so small in comparison to the story I just told you, so I'm going to zoom right into our segment of hope, and it's John Ward. It's John Ward. I don't know what to say. The passion, the dedication this man had, and let's be fair, he had more resources than most people, but it does appear that he worked quite hard for them. But that's our segment of hope. People like John Ward don't exist in true crime every day. You don't see them every day, I should say. Something like fighting for your loved one, I can't even imagine trying to do it internationally. It's hard and it's exhausting and it is traumatic and it is awful. And the fact that he went out again and again and again, most reports said 100 times. I found a few that said upwards of 200 times. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So our segment of hope is John Ward. That there are parents, people, family members out there that perhaps if something horrible happened to you, which I hope does not, obviously, we should all be so lucky to have someone who works as hard as John Ward and continue on that hope too to his sons who have taken up this mission. So John Ward is my segment of hope. He has at the same time broken my heart and also filled it. So I hope that resonated with you. As always, I would love to hear your feedback. I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.